From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. Sitting across the desk from me today is Massachusetts State Representative Patricia Duffy. She's from the 5th Hampden District. State Rep Duffy, thank you so very much for giving me some of your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for offering me this opportunity. Yeah, really happy to be here.
You and I had only briefly met back in October of 2025. So this is really our first chance to really sit down, chat, get to know each other. I asked two questions of every politician that comes in. First, how long have you been the representative for that district?
So I got elected. I had to campaign my first campaign during the pandemic, 2020,
Really?
and I've been involved in a ton of election campaigns, and there was really nothing like it. Yeah. So that's when I was elected. But I worked for my predecessor, Aaron Vega.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
right.
and then when Aaron decided that he wasn't going to run again, and he's obviously gone on and continuing to go on to great things, I was like, all right, I'm going to throw my hand in.
So my next and probably the more important question that I always ask every politician is, why? Why would you ever run for elected office in this day and age where there's so much animosity among our elected officials? What? Did you lose a bet?
No. Well, so first of all, I was already sucked in because I
working for Aaron, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You get the taste of it.
Exactly. And I actually came from working for labor unions. So I was already into organizing and running campaigns and policy work. But a lot of people ask me that question. And let me tell you, state level politics, now it's not always like sweetness and light, but it is when we think about politics, we tend to think on the national level.
Right,
and man, yeah. But the state legislature just isn't like that. We have our disagreements.
Right. We
care deeply about what we're doing. So, things can get passionate. But I'm a Democrat. I'm pretty partisan in that, but I love my Republican state colleagues. We all just care about our districts.
Do you find that because Massachusetts is well known to be a blue state, whether it's the Massachusetts State House or Senate, it's mostly Democrats. Do you think that there is no real animosity because one party is, for lack of a better description, in power versus another party, whereas on the national level, it's basically 50-50.
Right. It's going back and forth. That's an interesting question. I mean, it may be true that my Republican colleagues, they know that we have a super majority. We have a veto-proof majority. So they, that might be why they're more accommodating. But I have a lot in common with all of them. Because really our first priority is our constituents. So we see the same problems. We may have different approaches to getting to them, but, we can talk with each other about getting to the same place. I think the point you raise is interesting, but I would also remind everyone it's actually rare for Massachusetts to have a Democratic governor.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah.
If folks think back, Governor Healy is a rare Democrat in the corner office.
Exactly. I think it shows it's that old, what do they call it? Like the Party of Lincoln, that old New England style of conservatism,
right.
which is a loaded term these days, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a loaded term. But so I think we have so much in common here in the state.
And it's interesting because I'm an unenrolled voter, which means I'm not enrolled in a party. I still vote, but I like when we have a Republican governor because I look at it as more of a checks and balances, and I'm not a fan of either party full representation. I think we're seeing that on the federal level now. The House and the Senate and the president are all Republicans. I don't like that. I like when there's balance and it forces agreement. It forces discussion and coming to a moderate, agreeable solution.
I hear that. I mean, I am a Democrat, so I always root for and campaign for the Democrats. But I do hear what you're saying. We've done a lot of great, we did great work under Charlie Baker, done great work under Mitt Romney. That was kind of the basis of the ACA under Mitt Romney.
It's funny you say that because I don't think a lot of people realize what's now known as the Affordable Care Act nationally was originated in Massachusetts under a Republican, under Mitt Romney. It was Romney Care.
Exactly. One reason why I respect your perspective and what you like the political landscape to look like, it might be a little bit more comfortable for you now because, frankly, I think we do have a very, very partisan federal regime.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this is a good time for us to have a Democratic governor. I have to say. We'll see what happens next year. I will be campaigning for Maura Healey, but
Well, wasn't Charlie Baker was governor during Trump's first term? Right.
I think the state Republican Party started to have problems with him, though, because they were becoming more aligned with he is the president of the United States.
National Republican Party versus Charlie Baker's role.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Interesting. We are up on our first commercial break. We will be right back with more with State Representative Patricia Duffy. Stay with us.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of InFocus. State Representative Patricia Duffy is across the desk from me today. Representative, thank you very much for joining me. I want to talk a little bit about your district.
Please, my favorite topic.
I hope so. Here on the screen now is a picture of your district. Your district encompasses Holyoke, the city of Holyoke in its entirety.
Yep.
But on the bottom right, you jumped the river.
Yep.
And you're a little bit into Chicopee. How did that happen?
So it's all, you'll notice every 10 years following the state census, we even out the legislature again. So we maintain, there's 160 of us in the House of Representatives. And basically, you divide the population of Massachusetts, which in the 2020 census was just over 7 million. Divide that by 160, and each of us should be representing the same amount of people, approximately the same amount of people, which is close to 45,000 people. So,
and Holyoke alone is 40,000 of them, right?
A scant 40,000.
Yeah.
So, a couple of other state legislators needed to move some of their constituents along, and I needed to add some so that we would be all more evened out. And it's a process. It starts in the legislature with a census committee. It was chaired by Majority Leader Mike Moran this time and 10 years ago. And he consults with us and tells us, asks us, well, he said, like, Rep. Duffy, you're probably going to have to pick something up. What do you think? And the most natural addition is more of Hampden County. I mean,
getting into, East Hampton doesn't make sense, or what's that, South Hadley?
Correct.
To the northeast.
Jumping over county lines. It's a couple of residential neighborhoods there in Chicopee. They have a lot in common with the rest of Holyoke. Okay. I know some, high school football, we might not want to talk about that, but actually Holyoke and Chicopee have a ton in
similar
common.
Communities. Right.
Yeah. And it works out really well because Chicopee has a larger delegation. It's more than 50,000 population. Right. So there's a few of us. And honestly, I let my wonderful colleague, Rep. Shirley Arriaga, take the lead. I do the constituent services in those neighborhoods, but, I concentrate on Holyoke and support her in Chicopee. So it works out well. Yeah.
Speaking of constituent services, what are some of the things you hear from your constituents that you're passionate about that you bring back to Beacon Hill?
So this is becoming a more common theme, and that's actually helping me in my advocacy. Affordability, affordability, affordability.
Right.
I mean, even
Up and down. And it's when we
yes,
say affordability,
yes,
we don't just mean housing. It
right,
is affording everything from
exactly.
gas to groceries to housing.
Groceries. What yeah. I mean, obviously, Holyoke, we have challenges with poverty,
Right.
of course. There's a really powerful and effective legislative caucus for gateway cities, which
Mhm.
are those cities. I mean, Holyoke, Springfield, Chicopee, here in this area, all the way from Pittsfield out in the Berkshires to Everett and Chelsea in the eastern part of the state. We have a certain amount of our population below the poverty line, and also they look at graduation rates too.
Okay.
And these cities, we tend to be those cities that we have these glorious industrial pasts, and then the economy moved away from us
Right. Right.
through no fault of the
Anyone's,
current,
right. Yeah.
the current population, or those who made that decision. That's just the way it went. So we do need extra attention, extra focus, and I feel it from the administration, and I feel it in the legislature and from leadership.
So how are we addressing affordability on Beacon Hill? And of course, my interest is Western Mass as well.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
we all, and I think everybody recognizes it costs more to live in the eastern end of the state than it does in the western part of the state. But the western part of the state is getting more expensive. So what are you and your counterparts doing?
So we do have to talk about housing and food insecurity.
Okay.
Those are the two biggest things, right? So, moving to increase housing production, there's been some great housing production in Holyoke that I'm really proud of. South Holyoke Homes. South Holyoke is an area of Holyoke that has just been neglected way too long.
Down by Race Street, right?
That is so
right by the canals.
Even and further south, the neighborhood actually that abuts Chicopee across the Connecticut River. Yeah, it's you get away from Race Street and you move like east of Main Street. It's been a residential neighborhood, and it's got a long, tough history. And it's been neglected for way too long. So this goes back, speaking of Charlie Baker, 10, 15 years ago, I was on Holyoke's Redevelopment Authority, and we really wanted to concentrate on housing production in South Holyoke. And it takes too long, but in partnership with the Holyoke Housing Authority, South Holyoke Homes, if you haven't been there, go drive around. There's opportunities for home ownership. There's alongside really beautiful low-income housing.
I pulled up a map as we're talking of the area of Holyoke.
You got it exactly right.
Folks, I hope you can see my cursor. Down here is South Holyoke, and then further to the northeast is what we all remember. I think here in Google, it's still called the Flats.
We still call it the Flats,
okay.
Absolutely. And it kind of roughly breaks out into Ward 1 is the Flats and Ward 2 is South Holyoke.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So affordable housing is really crucial, and those are probably the two areas of Holyoke that can, for lack of a better description, it's probably the low-hanging fruit. It's easier to create affordable housing in those areas. Just it's where the factories were. It's some of the buildings are able to be either rehabbed or torn down and rebuilt.
Exactly.
What about food? How are we making groceries and the things people put on their tables 3 times a day more affordable?
At this point, because that's part of the national economy, what we can do is support those programs that help families get access to food. Holyoke has incredible, so we have big challenges with food insecurity, but we also have great networks for food access. I actually have a biweekly meeting, just a casual, we jump on Zoom at 4:00, and some of the great agencies in Holyoke, including One Holyoke CDC, Enlace da Familia, Nueva Esperanza. I'm going to forget somebody and it's going to be terrible, but Holyoke Community College, they all talk about the work that they're doing to increase food access. Sometimes it's pantries, sometimes it's trainings at, like HCC. And we all, there was a stop for a good week in the federal SNAP benefits.
Right.
And we all jumped in and made sure people knew where their food was. And I also have a couple pieces of legislation. This, food insecurity and access to food, it's a whole giant package. And
there's no simple fix.
Exactly. I've got colleagues working on it from all angles, and we all support each other. So you kind of pick your lane and your piece of it that you're passionate about. And I'm really passionate about the fact that here we are in this urban city. I love living in a city. I've always lived in cities, but we're surrounded by this agriculture, this incredible farmland. So let's support programs like the Healthy Incentive Program that gets that healthy food to people who have challenges with their grocery budget. So,
I mean, we are known here in Western Mass as the Fertile Valley.
That's exactly right.
Tons of farms and locally fresh food.
And, those farmers face challenges too. So why not, boost their customer base?
Right.
So I've got two pieces of legislation that I'm working on. One is Farm to School, which is an existing program, but we want to codify it and make it permanent. That there's more and more in Holyoke with gardens and stuff, and two local school systems that have great programs.
Good.
Chicopee Voc-Tech. The food is delicious. It's brought in by local farms and the Springfield Public Schools. And so Holyoke is working to move in that direction. That's an investment, but it's well worth it. And I have another piece of legislation where we're supporting folks who are like taking vacant lots and setting up community gardens.
Perfect.
And the model is Nuestras Raíces in Holyoke. It's been around since the early 90s.
Very good. We are up on our second commercial break. Stay with us. We have more with Representative Duffy when we return.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of In Focus. I'm very fortunate today to be joined in the 22 News Plus studio by Massachusetts State Representative of the 5th Hampden District, Patricia Duffy. State Rep Duffy, thank you so very much for joining me. I appreciate it.
This has been so great.
It has been fantastic because I'm learning so much more about Holyoke.
Which is the best topic ever.
I'm a Westfield guy, so yeah, maybe.
We got stuff in common. Westfield is Gateway City, too.
It is. Yeah. It's funny because in this role here in Focus, I'm learning so much about all of our communities, up and down the Pioneer Valley, from Vermont to Connecticut and even in the Berkshires. But you, in your role as a state representative on Beacon Hill at the State House, you're on a number of committees.
Right.
Two of them are probably really the Ways and Means. You're on both the Joint Ways and Means and the House Ways and Means.
Right.
What does Ways and Means do?
So Ways and Means during the budget season, which we're coming up on quicker than I could even imagine, which runs pretty much from January until the House takes up the budget in April, and then the Senate takes up the budget in May. So Joint Ways and Means, we're the ones who we hold hearings, and the parts of the administration, the different secretariats, come and testify to us and present their budget needs and answer our questions about why do you need this, that. So Senator Joe Comerford and I co-hosted at UMass the education hearing. That was an amazing experience. So
you basically Ways and Means controls the purse strings of the state.
True that. I'm not. I'm one member.
Right, but that's the importance of Ways and Means.
Yeah,
when you just mentioned the education side of it. So if there's a school district, a college, a charter school, whatever avenue in the education stream needs help from the federal government, they present to you.
Well, if they need help from the state government.
I mean, from the state government. Excuse me, correct.
Yeah. I would, maybe no, if they need help from the federal government
Right.
too. But,
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people realize the importance of Ways and Means.
And then House Ways and Means, it's sort of the same. It's like, well, from my perspective as a member, it feels like the same kind of committee. But House Ways and Means, we're the last stop for legislation to like sort of as it goes to the House before it goes on the House floor to sort of pull out the financial implications of it. Yeah.
All right. The other important one that you're on, which is, and I know I'm going to get the name wrong of it, but it's the Cannabis Committee?
It's the Cannabis Policy Committee.
Cannabis Policy Committee.
Yeah. So it was a committee that was formed in 2018 when the prohibition on cannabis was lifted in Massachusetts. And basically, it's the committee, since that time that established the regulations, et cetera, for the cannabis industry. And it's important for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's a new industry, but it's not just about the cannabis. It's about the opportunities that are being presented, because we all said that we were lifting the prohibition on cannabis. It's a criminal justice reform issue.
Right.
There was I am no fan of drug traffickers. You're bringing fentanyl into this country.
Right.
Forget it. Worst of the worst. But I think we've all admitted, no matter how you feel about cannabis use, that there was a war of drugs and it was disproportionate, and it fell mainly on communities of color and poor communities. So my community suffered a lot for the pretty harsh criminal sentences for just like possession of some weed.
Exactly. So how does your committee differ from the Mass Cannabis Control Commission?
We created the Mass Cannabis Control Commission, and what's going on right now, it was a new industry. We did a lot that was really good, but anybody who's dealt with the industry knows there's been big bumps in the road too. Actually, all you have to do is read the headlines. There's been a lot of drama in the Cannabis Control Commission. So actually now, I was appointed vice chair, which has been a great experience for me to learn more about the committee process and creating larger bills, bringing them to the House floor. But we have put together, there were hearings last fall, and we put together some reforms, and we're looking to change the number of members on the Cannabis Control Commission, what kind of license caps can different businesses have, just all, refining the social equity licenses that we promised all along.
Right.
So the House, we had our version pass the House in June. It was a great experience for me, working with the committee staff and following the chair's leadership. He's really immersed himself in this I was going to make a cheeky remark with that. He's not really a user. I'm not really a user either, but I don't have a problem. I like a glass of wine. You like a joint. That's fine. The Senate has just put through their version, and the conference committee coming up I'm going to be really excited I'll be like more watching.
Right.
But yeah, so it's an important industry.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
About
a lot of jobs, a lot of revenue to the state. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, our time has come to an end. Pat Duffy, thank you so very much for joining me today. This was fantastic. I hope you'll come back periodically and give us updates.
Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This has really been a pleasure.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.